You are always selling. So you just always need to be in that selling mode to help bring and drive traffic to your funnel.
Outline your sales process, write down all of the objections, and start practicing how to overcome those objections. Hey, so Donald, I wanted to know, as the founder and chief evangelist at the Sales Evangelist, a sales training organization, if you could only share one thing about sales with like the established online course creator that's listening to this podcast episode, what would that be?
The one thing that I would share is that you are always selling and always need to be in the selling mode. There are many different ways, especially as online creators, where you can go about getting people into your funnel. But the key is just that getting people into your funnel. And some of the ways that you are selling may not necessarily be one on one, but as far as going on podcasts like this, sharing relevant content, being present, and offering that education or to the problem that your ideal customers, your ideal students may be coming across. So you just always need to be in that selling mode to help bring and drive traffic to your funnel.
Nice. Be in that selling mode. Okay, so like I want to unpack this, but
Sure.
first of all, for somebody listening, they've heard on a few episodes that when I went to the podcast movement, where I met
Mhm.
you back in August, I met quite a few of the guests that have been on this podcast recently, and you were kind enough to accept my invite to come in on the podcast. So thanks for being here.
Of course. Thank you for inviting me. I know what it's like to be able to have a podcast and to be, mindful of who you invite onto your show. So the fact that you invited me, I thought it was pretty dope, and I'm grateful and humbled by it.
Spoken so modestly as I met you and saw you speaking on stage at this conference, the podcast movement. So a lot has been going on with your business. Like before we hit record, you're telling me about all the things that you are into. I didn't even know you had a podcast production agency as part of your business. But for the listener who is new to you, you want to share a bit about the Sales Evangelist and what do you mean by the Sales Evangelist?
So the Sales Evangelist, I started a podcast back in, I guess officially 2013, 2012. I started playing with the idea, toying with it, and creating content. And um, just little by little, it just started to progress into something. But a podcast officially launched in 2013, and it turned into something bigger than what I initially thought. Got mentioned in a couple magazines. Then from there, we started getting the show. I got people reach out to me, asked if I could coach them and to help them, and that led into speaking opportunities and consulting opportunities. By 2015, it made sense to leave my full-time job, and as we started to scale, we started creating courses and programs. And the Sales Evangelist just became more of a sales training organization working with teams, SMBs. And as we've went up market upstream, we work a lot with SMBs and mid-market companies, training their sales reps on how to build pipeline, generating opportunities, finding new prospects, and closing the deals, how they can go about doing so more efficiently and effectively. And the evangelist side came from, there's a book by Guy Kawasaki. He was Apple's chief evangelist back in the early 90s. And we had to study him, and we had an opportunity to learn about him in college in a entrepreneurship class I was going through. And I saw that was one of his titles, and I'm like, chief evangelist. The only time I've heard that was like in a church, in like Protestant church, and I was like, but the idea behind it is so rich and vivid, right? An evangelist, and he was Apple's chief evangelist, so he was the one going out there everywhere evangelizing about Apple, on talk shows, on on in blogs, and on interviews, and everywhere he could. And the same concept I thought about with my business. At the time, I had some challenges with sales, like many of us on this, listening to the podcast today, where I didn't born out of the womb selling effectively. I tried to sell my first product as a mango as a kid, and led to subsequently to a book. but I was horrible at it. But I learned, and as I tried sales in different capacities, I wasn't always successful. And most salespeople, they bet like a baseball player, you strike out more than you actually get some wins. But when you do the things right, you get some pretty gnarly wins. And it's the same idea with sales. So I once I got the idea and the training and found what worked, I said I got to evangelize about this. So the idea came for the podcast was I want to be evangelist for sales. I want to help other people who are going through the struggles I was, to let them know there's a more effective way, a better way to be able to go through sales, and to do it properly, and to be able to help people and generate income from it. Thus, the brand identity came from that, and that's what we do through our podcast, through our content, through our speaking. We evangelize ways that salespeople can improve their skills, and that leads to people coming back, checking us out. They get interested in our paid programs, and life goes on.
That is so awesome. And I'll share a little bit more about how like learning how to sell changed my life. My very first time I encountered someone who actually knew what they were doing selling. But so back to like the listener, the online course creator, it's like we know as online course creators that we want our programs to sell, yet we might not see ourselves as sales people, salesmen, saleswomen. And then all of a sudden when we realize, oh, if I want to close more people into my program, say my coaching offer, what have you, on a discovery call, or have to like in your free training for sales where you talk about how to send out an email pitch or how to reach out cold prospecting in the DMs. We realize, oh shoot, we have to learn some sales strategies. So kind of
Mhm.
tying back into what you said in the beginning, like where do we start? Where do we start
Yeah.
this talk?
Yeah, I think many people try to figure out like so if we know this, well, if we go back into the very very beginning of this, I like to define sales as this: sales is the process of educating someone for a problem they may know or may not know they have, um, and helping them to persuade themselves to make a decision that's going to be in their best interest, for which they will compensate me. Like sales is not about me convincing you about a product or service that I have. It's about educating and helping individuals be aware. If I educate you enough about a problem, then you become aware of it. And maybe you're already doing the research and you're aware of it, but educate you enough at that point that you persuade yourself to make that decision. And the best sellers do that through asking effective questions. Because if I sell you something, say I sell you a bike, a mountain bike, for goodness sake, right? You may say, "Oh man, I got sold a bike." But if you change that around and we help you to the point where you made a decision and you feel like I bought a mountain bike today, that mountain bike is not going to get returned. That mountain bike is going to be used. That mountain bike is going to have glory. You're going to tell other people about that. And it's the same concept when it comes to professional selling, whether it's a courseware, whether it's a service, whether it's a product, a physical product you have. It's about educating people and helping them to persuade themselves, and those make the best evangelists for us, so to speak, because they go to the rooftop and tell people about us. That's where I say would start off. From there, we go then. We can go down into thinking about the why, because everybody must have a purpose why you're doing something. Whether it's a course you're creating, again, a physical product or a service, why are you doing that? It's just for the money, and that may be your case. But I would look beg deeper to go to stronger reasons. Maybe it's the money so that you can go spend time with your family in Abu Dhabi for 6 months. Like that's cool. Like
Okay.
if that's your thing, there's got to be a compelling reason. Maybe it's to make the sales arena a better place, or perhaps it's to help people to generate income that can make their lives more comfortable, by just understanding the process of selling. Like there are many different reasons, many different compelling things. I want to help the greater community, sales community, and I've been in a situation financially where we were struggling as a family in high school, so that makes me want to be able to help other people. So
Okay.
understanding your what sales is and understanding why you're doing it are the first components. Then you could go to some of these other mechanisms that makes it I feel after that makes it a little bit easier.
All right. You think we could get a little tactical?
Yeah,
Cool.
let's go.
So in the cool, awesome. So in the two worlds, webinars live or recorded for the online course creator, I think there could be a lot of overlap with, say, sales presentations that somebody might do in the B2B space. So I am wondering, and many people, the person who's listening right now is wondering, what would be something you would suggest a great way to transition from the, let's call it the educational, the presentation part of this sales presentation, the webinar, into the pitch that brings the listener along, that keeps like the course creator from like not faltering? How do they do that? Because I've seen so many course creators falter and just start stammering when it comes time to sell, and they can educate so well, but then the sales pitch, they're like, so what would be some advice you could share about that part?
I don't know if you're familiar with John Lee Dumas, but
Yes.
so John, he and I had a conversation, and one of the things John shared is that he tells his audience. So on his webinars, he tells them, he gives the education, give all the advice, all the tips, answers a question, whatever people are doing on a master class that he has, and then the last 15 minutes, he tells them like, now for some of you, you're going to want to stick around and you want to get some better, you want to improve, you want to learn. And then about our paid program, and if you don't want to, you can feel free to leave at this point. You got a lot of knowledge, but this is how we help other people. So then now basically what he does, he gets their permission to sell to them, because everyone who sticks around at that point are people that are going to want to learn. And obviously because he just gave them like 45 minutes of great insights, generally most of the people stick around that are going to be loyalists anyways, and listen to the offer that he has. Number two, you could sell throughout it without necessarily like being pushy with the pitch. And that's why I like to seed things in. So you might say, this part, if you teach a concept, let's say we're talking about LinkedIn and I'm giving you advice about writing effective LinkedIn message. I say, here's a strategy that I use, and I shared this in my course, teaching sellers how to generate 3 to 5 appointments per week with LinkedIn. And this part actually works. One of our students saw this, and let me show you how you do it. This is how you break down a message, blah, 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 blah. But the point is, I just seed that and I gave that there's more to it and whatnot. And then obviously, when you structure your webinars, and I've seen those ways, is that you educate, and you tell them from the top what's going to happen. If you started from the very beginning, tell people what's going to happen, people tend to be able to trust you more rather than just being a okey doke. Like, you get to the end and like, oh, wait, we got some offer here for you, but give them an idea. We're going to say my webinar is about how to write effective cold emails. I'm gonna give you the 3 steps about writing effective cold emails. I'll tell you how it worked, and I'll show you some practical examples, and then I'll give you some, things you can leave with to do that. And if you stick around, what I'm going to do as well, if this makes sense and if this work, I'll show you how. Not only do we, we show you how to write these emails, but we show you how to be able to have great discovery calls and actually close the deals from that as well. But I'll show you all of this throughout over the next 45 minutes. Does that sound good? Go ahead in the comments and give me a yes. But the point is, I gave them an agenda and framed it up for them, so that now at the end, again, I'm not too salesy and trying to sneak something in. It's like, this is what's
Right.
going to happen. And then the other part
Right.
to that too, when you do it like that, you're giving them, as you can see, we know the email comes. You open up the story loop. I give you the email story loop. I'm going to give you everything how you can write a great email, but I may not necessarily give you how to do effective discovery or how to close the deal. But that's the natural steps, a part of that process, right? It's
Mm.
like a dog chasing a car. What happens when you catch the car? I don't know what to do now, right? Well, that's where you have a great
Good
discovery
point.
and then closing. So let me show you how we do that. Let me show you what do you do when you catch the car.
you
um,
you said that, and in my mind I'm picturing what is that, Garfield and Otis? Is Otis the dog? And like just biting onto the tire and then like spinning around like getting in the road. But
yeah,
that's so true. Like being able to share at the beginning of a webinar, like, by the way, at the end of this webinar, I will give you an opportunity to work with me. And just like you said, seeding that at the beginning kind of reduces the anxiety, doesn't it? Of somebody
yeah,
who's listening and watching.
yeah. It's like at that point, I feel like if I'm on the outside, it's like this dude is being honest. being straightforward, no tricks or gimmicks here. I want to know and I want to see it, because and I guess it goes back to the word being genuine. The more genuine we can be with people, people could see through, if you're fake or not, or whatnot. But if you're genuine with folks and you really want to help them, and you can back it up and validate that with some experiences, with some stories, people are going to come back and listen to you time and time again.
Agreed. Very
Yeah.
much agreed. It's a process that somebody needs to set up in order to have a good webinar. Like, it's definitely a structure, and if you follow that structure, then a course creator could see sales increase. And
Yes.
you agree? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I
Love it.
remember back when I got my first taste of sales, like
Mhm.
many people listening to the podcast before, and like maybe we share this in common actually, because you speak some Spanish, I speak some Spanish.
Mhm.
You were fortunate enough to marry. You said your wife is from the Dominican Republic?
That's correct.
All right, cool. And you have a son about the same age of mine, right? Mine's
Yeah.
4.5.
-4. Yeah, 4.5. He'll be 4.5 in February.
Okay. Cool. So back to sales. So I have always been super passionate about learning a foreign language. And back in 2007, I used to work at Rosetta Stone. Do you remember those yellow
Yeah,
boxes on the
of
kiosk in the
course.
airport? All right. So I used to work there. I'm super passionate about learning languages, but it is a sales job, or at least it was a sales job, where you have your kiosk and they do the marketing. So I guess you could call it inbound sales, because people would inevitably come to the big bright TV and they'd see all the yellow boxes and they'd say something like, tell me about learning a language. And so I would, give them the product demo, and I would make some sales. But looking inside of our computer system and seeing the region of kiosk where I was at in Seattle, I noticed that there was a couple of kiosks kind of in the north portion of our region. And the point is they sold, those kiosks were like tripling, quadrupling our sales volume, right? And the commission when I worked there was super sweet. And so like I could easily calculate the numbers and be like, these guys are crushing it, like making way more than full-time salary off of like their part-time shift work at the
Yeah.
kiosks. So like I'll never forget this because it changed my life. I took a day off and I got the address of one of the kiosks and just went up to this other mall. It was like a 40-minute drive, but I was like, I will get there when the guy that's doing all these numbers is there. And I just walked up to him, was like, hey, I'm at the other kiosk and like, you're crushing it in sales. What are you doing? And like, I'll never forget his name. His name like was Joe Kunkel, and he may not be on this earth anymore. I don't know. He was like 60 something when I met him
Right.
then. And that was in 2009. Like maybe he was 70 then. But I remember him telling me that most likely the biggest issue with my sales was that I thought that like sales was just about like passion for the subject. And he said, like, actually, sales is a process. And then he proceeded to tell me how he actually didn't care about language. He just was a sales guy. Like, and he had sold at many different companies. And now he was selling at Rosetta Stone and doing a really good job, because I believe selling is serving. He's doing a really good job of helping people who wanted to learn a language buy the software. But he explained to me that sales was a process. And I asked him at the time, what book does he recommend I read to learn this process? And he recommended How to Master the Art of Selling by Tom. Do you know the last name? I don't remember the last name.
Uh,
Shoot, I should know. By Tom
yeah, it's on
Hopkins, Tom
Tom
Jenkins. I'm
Hopkins. Tom
searching.
Hopkins.
Tom Hopkins?
Is it Tom Hopkins? Tom Hopkins. He is he's the guru
Tom
in
Hopkins. Yep.
yeah,
Tom Hopkins. And so
like the 90s
I
guru.
I went home. I got that book. Well, actually, I went into a bookstore because we were inside of a mall. I found that book. I took it home and I stayed up all night, like studying, because basically it was like outline your sales process, write down all of the objections, and start like practicing how to overcome those objections, because objections are good. And so anyway, without stealing from what you probably will add to this episode, it changed my life. I think I saw like a 30% bump the first week following that night in my sales, and then it just continued to go up from there, and like, yeah, it changed it for me. So on that note, can we talk about discovery calls? I feel
Let's
like
go.
plenty course creators would love to like learn how to frame a discovery call and do it right so they can sell at the end. Maybe what would you, so in your free training that I listened to, you talked about how to start off a sales call the right way, so that, and I think you use the term like, so that it doesn't blow up on you at the end or you
Mhm.
lose sales. Can you give us a lot more context and also
Yeah.
share? Yeah.
So there's been some evolution since, but the concept though is perfectly sound and still the same. What you want to do is to set the agenda or set the premise before you get started. Just like with anything else, you got to help. Like people, go back to what you just said. You just stated it. This guy said he cares nothing about languages, but he just understands that there's a process, because human beings, we love our processes. That's why most of us will love living in society where we have order, we have structure, there's just routine and there's process. We know that. So if I go on a call with a prospect, with a seller, and I don't know where the heck this thing is going, I might find myself like, I'm losing it, disinterested, or I'm confused because I don't see the pattern. So we must outline or demonstrate to them the process. So I might kick off the call and say something to the nature of, Mary, I look forward to our call today. Maybe we build rapport. She's in, Maryland, and we talk about Maryland for a second. Then we jump in and talk about it. So, here, Mary, I know you're interested in a course. Here's what we're going to do. I'd love to get a chance to learn a little bit more about why you're interested in this program, what benefit you feel that, what questions you have about the program. Then I can answer to you a little bit more about the program, go deeper and answer your questions. And then the last few minutes, we can decide and make a decision if this is going to be a good fit for you or not. I know that we're not a fit for everyone, but if you feel throughout the call that this, sometime during a call before we end, Donald, this is not going to work for me, not what I'm looking for, are you open to letting me know that soon up front? Like, yeah, of course, I'm more willing to tell you, Donald. And vice versa. If based on what you're looking for in a program is not something that we can deliver, are you open if I were to tell you that sooner than later, than wait till the end? Yeah, perfect. All right. So now we're on the same page. So now at this point, I'm not no longer um scary to Mary, because she know there's an exit that she can go through.
Mm,
There's an emergency exit. I'm not gonna pigeonhole her in a corner and sell her something that she doesn't need, but allow her to release her, let down her guards for that time period and listen and just learn and tell me the truth about what she's looking for, and then if
okay.
we are fit, we can go. But then also now she knows coming to the end, there's going to be a next step. There's going to be an ask at that point.
Right.
And throughout that, and go back to what you're saying with objection, I know we're going further ahead. I like to take mitigate objections before they become big deals. Let's back that up, before they become big issues. So let's say the
Okay.
objection that you have
Whoa,
is,
whoa, 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 let's hold on a second. Let's hold
yeah,
on a second. I got
yeah,
a
yeah. Sorry,
question.
sorry.
I know the listener is wondering, like, is it always easy to get the other person to like verbally respond and like say yes to the questions that you're asking in the beginning, or how do you do that?
Especially for you all who are course creators, these are people who know you. They're inbound. They want to learn from you. There's a high probability they're going to be willing to answer your questions, and that's the
Okay.
difference. If you're talking to somebody brand new, cold, never heard of you, and they're on a call with you, that's a little bit more challenging. But in my view, I still see that it happens because, again, the majority of people, we've been taught since we were kids, when somebody asks you a question, answer the question. So for the most part, and again, nobody's going to sit on a call with you if they're not interested, right? So
Gotcha.
for me, asking those questions allow for that to happen. It's kind of like going to the doctor. I don't go to the doctor because I just, I want to watch
Sure.
their golf channel. And I know I have to meet with them for 15 minutes, answer dumb questions so I can go out and watch golf in the waiting room. I go there because I know he's an expert and he can help me with whatever I'm going through, or she's an expert and she can help me with whatever I'm going through. Same idea with these people who are taking a call with you, not for leisure, they're hanging out. They're coming to get some info.
So like at the beginning of that call,
Hmm.
do you go as far to ask like if everything you say on the call makes sense? Like would they be willing to make a decision like today?
You could do that, but not necessarily that so much as that part. You could tell them that at the end that you're gonna, yes, actually, yeah, at the end you want to make that help them to know to make a decision, right? Like
Mhm.
they preface it. The decision is going to be the next step, whether that may be depending on the. We don't want them to leave and say I have to go think about it. We want them to be able to have make a decision if possible. But we can set it up to say at the last 5 minutes of the call, we can determine if it makes sense for us to move forward or not, or determine if you find if this course is going to make sense for you right now or not. Um, but at least now they're knowing. But now, when we do go into that call, I need to know what are going to be the top 3 objections, why, or top 5 objections that I might get thrown at me, why somebody's not willing to do the course. Things that I hear over and over and over again. Maybe on 60, 70% of my call, these come up. And maybe one of them is I need to think about it. Or perhaps, so I think of a solution for that. Or perhaps it's I'm just getting information. Well, I want to get that up front if they're just getting information, gathering information. I may not necessarily need to do my full demo at that point. Or perhaps, yeah, or perhaps it's like, I'm comparing this with other courses. So whatever the top common objections are, maybe it's just the price is the top one. Because ultimately, you may say, I need to think about it, which maybe come back down to the price. Or 2 is like, they don't see the value, but they tell you, yeah, I just need to think about it. So if I know
Okay.
those are my top 2 objections, throughout my presentation now, my conversation, I'm going to see that. So I might ask, tell me a little bit more about now what made you interested in looking into our sales training course? Blah, blah, blah. I'm looking into doing this. I'm looking into doing that. Never take the top response as the main thing. They might say, yeah, I'm looking into grow my business. I'm looking into become a better seller. Interesting. I get that often. Tell me a little bit more. It sounds like there's a story behind that. Well,
Okay.
I just bought the business and I'm looking to expand it, looking to grow. Right now, I spent a lot of money into investing in the business, and I got to see a return. I got to keep it going forward. When you say return, what are you looking at? Are you looking to make like an extra $1 million this year? Or are you looking to make like just like a $5,000 a month? But I'm looking to do XYZ. What would you say the biggest challenge is holding you back from making that? But again, at this point, to see where I'm getting at, they told me something, and I'm going deeper and deeper into figuring
Yeah.
out the biggest component of your discovery call is figuring out the need. You want to spend time. There's different methodologies. One that's out there that's a very simple one is BANT. And
Bant.
please, BANT stands for budget, authority, need, and timing. It's a simple
Okay.
framework we teach to a lot of business development reps. But again, there are many different methods. There's the challenger method. There's the you got the
Closer method, is that one?
cl- closers. I mean, that's like a one call close. Different. I think there's different strategies on those, different methods on those. But it's the idea behind this is that you're really just trying to figure out. It's a framework, a process that you
Mhm.
can go through. The band stands for budget, so you're not going to ask that right out the gate, like, but you need to get by the call ends is this is what they're saying. In order for that discovery to turn into a sale, you need to have the budget, authority, figure out how they're going to make the decision about this, how they evaluate this decision, the need, what is the pain or the issue that's causing this change, and then the timing, like how soon are they're looking to invest or to make to fix the need. Now, you're not
Okay.
asking it in that band order because it'll be pretty lame to start off the call and say, "Tell me what's your budget." But I like to look at it as like, and this acronym doesn't sound as cool as BANT, but NTAB, same thing, but it's just different order. So I go for the need first, then the timing. So, I'm the new owner of this business and I need to turn things around because, told me some numbers. I need to make $10,000 a month minimum to be able to make this make sense. And I have a 6 month runway and I
Mm.
need to get something going so I can start making money in January. Perfect. Now I know some time frames and I can use levers and I can use scarcity to be able to help with that. Now and then I also figure out so tell me like your decision making process. I'm sure you're looking at other course creators. Again, that if that's a common objection I get, I'm going to bring that up. I'm sure you're looking at other courses. Tell me about what other courses you're looking at or what else you've
Oh.
done.
Just like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I haven't really looked at anything else yet. This is just the main one that I'm looking at right now because I like your podcast. Perfect. Now I know I don't have anyone else to worry about when it comes to that side of the house. So there's a lot of leverage there.
What if they
And
have looked at another course and they tell you about it because you brought it up
get
so well?
deeper. Yeah. So
Okay.
tell me a little bit more what you're looking at. What have you looked at? Well, I look at this course and I look at this course. Those are amazing course creators. I like them. I follow them on social as well, and we've been on each other's podcast, and it as well. Everyone is going to be different, and I'm not going to be a fit for everybody, and no one is a perfect fit for everyone, and whatnot. But I want to make sure I'm a good fit for you. That is apples to apples comparison. What are some of those criteria you're looking at when evaluating these vendors to see if they're going to be a fit for you? Well, I want somebody that can do this. I want a course that's easy to follow. I need a course that has short videos. I need a course that that I can that actually proven result. Is there anything else that you're looking for in the course to evaluate? Cool. All right. Well, those are great. But here's what I'd like for you to do. Have you met with them yet? Okay. So here's what I'd like for you to do. I want you to give an honest look at us because I do feel that based on what you're sharing, we're the best option for you. But I don't want to limit your opinion. You need to look at the other ones. But I'd love to make sure we are after you do look at them, to take a few more minutes and jump on a call, and then we can evaluate. Does that sound fair enough? And if they fit better than I do, then I won't twist your arm. You listen to my podcast, you know I am. Cool. All right, great. But now I know who we're going up
Yeah.
against. I know what's there, and then I can go in. I might know some of the shortcomings. I might say, I love, Jack. Jack has an amazing course, and you mentioned to me that you're trying to grow your business. Jack business usually for more people who are seasoned veteran sellers,
Mhm.
and we have done some things where I've done. Our course is going to be able to really help you with the foundations and master the fundamentals of selling. And especially somebody like is trying to get up quick to speed. You don't want to get into a program where you're going to be behind and can't actually get up to speed. So we can
Mm.
definitely help you out there. Lisa's course, definitely, she's a great for business to consumer and sales. And I know that you mentioned that you're doing a B2B selling. You're selling a product to other businesses, right? Yeah. So even though you can take some of the stuff, it's not going to be perfectly aligned. So I think that's going to be a little differentiator between us and her. But if you're looking for a product that you're selling to individuals, I recommend her. Shoot, I've gone through her program as well for selling to individuals. So I think it's maybe a great fit on that front. But for what you're doing, I'm not sure if you're gonna see the best result at this point. But you
What
see,
I'm hearing is you've planned this out, and so you brought up the objection, so to speak, naturally. You let them talk, but you're also diving a little deeper to see like why they were looking into other courses. But I can tell you've planned this out. Like you're saying this like it's supernatural. Like speak to the listener who like what kind of work ethic is involved? Like how much do you have to practice before you get good at a discovery call?
it's repetition. And what I tend to do in listening to your calls, like all of us should be doing this on Zoom or doing it on some kind of platform where you can record and get permission, of course. But you need
Mhm.
to record those calls so you can go back in. What we do every morning as a team with my sales team, we have a little huddle and we spend 15 minutes together and we go over what are some of the challenges that we faced yesterday, what are some of the wins that we had, and then we do role play how to overcome those challenges because it's just repetition and oftentimes it's the same ones over and over and over again, but we figure
Yes.
out ways. And no one's ever going to be perfect. I did a role play this morning with my team and I'm senior over them, like probably by like 10 years in selling, but they are on the phones a lot, and so they're able to point out challenges, cracks in my pitch this morning. And we played a recording of one of my calls from yesterday. It was one of my cold outreach, and they gave me some tips on what I could have done to make that call better because everyone can improve. And the moment you get to the point where you feel like you can't improve, you're dead in the water. So it's critical that you practice every single day. You make that repetitious, and we can wake you up at 3 o'clock in the morning and say, you're at this part of your disco, go. And you should be able to know here's the objection, go. And you should be able to know
Mhm.
how to answer that objection. And the way you answer an objection, I kind of see it there. I don't dog anyone. We actually praise them, give them feedback, And then we go into some of the reasons why we may be different. People who do select our course select us for this reason, or whatnot,
Okay.
in that. But it's a practice, it's a repetition. So to answer that question, that's how you can come about doing it. And yes, you do write out your outline. So now we just went through the need. Then we go through. And I know the objections, those top two objections, the value or my competitor or pricing. So I see that into the conversation. Where can I bring that up into the conversation and before you do at the end, right? And if it go onto the price, the time frame, what's your time frame on making a change? Well, I need to go ASAP. So why is it so fast? So you need to go so quickly again? Because I need to get going in January. Um,
Ah.
January, is that an arbitrary? Is that a deadline that you have to start in January? Could you start sooner or later? I guess I could start later or sooner, but I do want to get January to just start off the year right. Okay, great. So I mean, obviously, and then what I do with the price at that point, I shock high above, throw a shocker in there, like
Okay.
might say,
Shocker.
well, yeah, like
Like a
this
high
is
price to anchor?
exactly.
Okay.
Like perfect. So it sounds like you definitely want to get something going. I'm sure you looked around and see some of the courses out there for like 10,000 or 15,000 or some of those courses for the whole year program. Yeah. Oh, great. Well, don't you worry. We're not definitely not that high for what you're looking
Ah,
for. Something like this, it's about $2,000 to make that investment, and especially for somebody like yourself who's looking for ROI, you understand the ROI because you're going to master the fundamentals. So by time you're going through a program, we have a 6-week program, 8-week program. So by February, you will have at least known what you should be doing perfectly. But throughout that process, you will start to see results. And many of our clients actually see results within 3 weeks of going through it. One of our best clients, she came in without any experience and she went through a program. She was new on the team that she was at, but after 2 weeks in our program, she was like, I'm done. She didn't quit the program, of course, but she
mm,
was able to close one of the biggest deals the company had ever seen. And it was the most over that time period. By that time period, she was able to hit her quota that she had hit, past the number she had hit the year before. By that point, and it was halfway through in the year. The point I'm trying to get at is you'll definitely see the ROI you need within a couple of weeks of the program. So I'm really excited for you. So I can't wait to see what you're going to look like by the time you finish us up finish up with us after 8 weeks for the
okay.
program.
Before you close,
Yeah.
for the listener, I just want to break it down quick. We talked about price anchor, and I know something about sales. You know tons about sales, obviously. But for the listener who doesn't know what a price anchor is, what we're just talking about is you've seen it on people's sales pages. You've probably seen it in stores, but where there's a much higher price than the actual product costs. And then the person who is listening to you or on the call with you, then like now that they've seen, oh, okay, $10,000, then when you do come through with the price of your offering, they're like, oh, it's not that expensive. Um, or let's talk about the value stack on a webinar or on a sales page, for example. Like we see this all the time with course creators where they kind of have all of the bonuses and everything involved, and then they say it's like a $5,999 value, you know, but then like there's a strike through that. But my course is only this much. It's the concept of price anchoring. Super important. Okay, just had to break that down. Um, I know a lot of listeners know, but I always appreciate when I'm listening to a new concept that somebody breaks it down for me. And
Yeah.
if the listener didn't know, now they know, and it's totally okay. Like we can't know everything. So, like, what are you doing specifically with that, with the testimonials?
Yeah. So I like to keep testimonials in my pockets of our clients, and the testimonials can be applicable to those objections. Now, in this person's case, understanding their main thing is they're trying to see ROI in their business. And obviously, the investment, is a common one that I get. Maybe 2,000 is a little bit pricey, but in comparison to the 15,000 programs, $50,000 programs, it's not. But I bring back in the ROI. Now I know the ROI is important for you, so I use an ROI testimonial to be able to help support that.
Mm,
And then at that point, you can go into demonstrate. We've demonstrated a program. Maybe we talked about it, and I give an outline about how the program works and whatnot. Answered their questions, and we went through the needs. The discovery is a process, so it's not just like one thing. But we understand the need, we understand the timing, um, understand the authority. Like maybe you get into that part. You know, maybe the budget at that point. We share a little bit about the pricing for the course, and then
Uh-huh.
whatnot. And then throughout this whole thing, what I like to do with my courses, I demonstrate and I show them. We have a learning model that consists of they get online videos, then they get access to our online community. Then they have a weekly training call with one of the facilitators, and then
Okay.
they have accountability that goes in. So we do, when we demonstrate or show our program, we show them what the accountability part looks like. We show them the access to the course and how the content is, and logistically how they would, see the content and the syllabus. We show them
Okay.
what that weekly session is going to look like with their, the facilitator, and what goes on in that, and then how they make
Oh,
accountability plans to implement it. So doing all of this throughout the discovery process, maybe that's throughout the need, or as I answer a question, I might say, how does the program work? I demonstrate all of that, because sometimes you see people's demo. It's like, well, let me take 10 time and show you a demo, and then answer a question. Let's go throughout this together and journey together. But I do know I'm asking those, trying to get that budget authority need throughout that process, with that conversation. And then I might transition. Then maybe I get to that point again. We talk about the budget. I might ask them the investment. And I say, does what would work best for you? Would that be something, for the investment? What would work best for you? Would you pay out of pocket, or would you rather go through PayPal um, to finance the program? And
okay. So
doing the
two options.
yeah, I say, I could pay out of pocket. 2 grand's not bad. Great. We can go ahead and do that. And if there's challenges there, then maybe there is a payment that they can have a payment plan. But I typically like to do that PayPal, because that allows a little bit more easier for them and for us, where they can get the lump sum from PayPal and whatever financial provider you do, and then they can work out payments options with their own. Um,
Okay.
in that case, but giving them two options. And then from that standpoint, you mentioned to me some of those key criteria you're looking at before making it an investment in us, and you need to get started in January. I'll go ahead and pencil you down and put you in place for one of the spots. We only have 25 available for the cohort, and right now we have about 7 of those left. And I'm being transparent with them when I explain to them 7 of those spots left. So I'll pencil you in, because you said you definitely want to get going. Great. So what I'll do then, here's the link, and what we can do is you can go ahead and finish up that registration. Here's what will happen next. And I don't spend a lot of time
Mm,
on that. I go straight in. Here's what will happen next. You'll get an email, you'll get a calendar invite for all of the sessions, and then you'll need to get into our online community and set up your profile. You get an email to guide you through that. Make sense?
okay.
Pretty easy. Great.
Yeah.
What questions do you have about getting started and getting your business to the point where you can see a ROI? But I got everything there: budget, authority, timing. It sounds like they didn't need to. And when you say authority, sometimes people might think that the old school way is like, who's the decision maker. In this case, the person said that they'll make that decision. And I found out what are the criterias they're going to make the decision for. If I felt in any way that there may be an objection that I need to speak to a partner about that, I'll bring that up. And as far as how we can go about doing that, having a conversation. But I might say something to the nature, if I do hear some kind of hesitation, or hear something around partner at the beginning, maybe I hear that, or in the background you see a picture of family. You might say most people who make an investment in a program like this, sometimes they want to discuss it with a partner. When can we schedule a call? Last thing I want for you to do is go ahead and try to sell the product and give you more work. When can we have a 15-minute call or 10-minute call, just so I can explain the program, so that you are all both on the same page and understand the program? Oh,
Whoa.
no, no, no need,
You
no
do
need at
that.
all.
You do
What you
that at the beginning?
you can, if there's an objection, I bring that objection up in the program, throughout the disco.
Okay. And if
You do
they
want to prepare in
say they want
preparation. What I've done is, in preparation for the call, you tell them that. I had a client that we taught. They did a business to consumer sale, and they sold. They're in the they had a lot of inbound leads that they would get, and people would come, and their program costs about $4,000 to $7,000. So someone is coming, it's a one call close they try to get to their facility. And this client, one of the things that we noticed was they send out text message reminders, but they always get, that was the biggest objection they got: price, and I need to talk to my partner about this, my husband, my
Yeah.
wife, about this. So what I told them and what we taught was bring that up in your prep, get them prepared beforehand. So we might say, I look forward to seeing you for your appointment tomorrow. And most of our clients who do make an investment, this is a big, and it's a life-changing, that you're doing. This was for them to get hair, grow hair back. So they had hair treatments or hair restoration. I'd say
Yeah.
so, but it's a big investment. Is there someone that you usually make decisions with? Maybe, and you bring up like the weak stuff first. Like, maybe people typically want to bring like a family member to help them make the decision. Maybe a mom or a sister, a spouse. Who's that person for you? Great. Well, please bring them tomorrow, so that you both can be so you can see it and they can help you to make a decision if this makes sense for you. And now they
That
bring
is
somebody with them,
awesome.
so they're not doing it by themselves. But then now you can't. The excuse can't be, I need to think. I need to talk to my partner. Maybe it's going to be, I need to think about it. But then you just educate as much as possible and give them the options, to be able to do that to make the decision that same day. Eliminate objections before they become objections.
I'm laughing because it's I need to think about it objection that we all wish we just had like the magic thing to
Let's go through
say.
it. Let's go through it. So,
Are you
so they
sure?
tell you, yep,
Because I know you
um,
teach this in your course.
yeah, that's totally fine. I'm giving the secrets. We don't have
All right.
secrets. I need to think about it, Donald. So, what I like to do in this situation like that, you tell them, be transparent and be upfront with them. So you might say, yeah, definitely, you for sure. I would. It's one of the things that I get oftentimes, or empathize. Totally understand where you're coming from. This is a big investment. However, when you say think about it, though, just want to clarify, make sure we're on the same page. Is there anything in particular you're needing to think about? Is it if the price is there? Is it going to make sense for you? Is it going to work? Help me understand. So that's one option. I like to do the menu option. So it's similar to that, but you can say, well, most people tell me they need to think about it. It's usually one of these three reasons. One, they're really not interested and they don't want to hurt my feelings, and it's okay if you're not. I'm totally fine with that. I want to make sure you find something that's going to best help you, and I would be more than willing to give recommendation if it's that one. But don't worry about hurting my feelings. Number two, they really are interested, the price is just a little bit bigger than what they were expecting. Or three, they already made a decision with somebody else they're going with, and you know just don't want to let me down slowly. Again, totally understand. But I'm picking three of the things that are more than likely. Is it any of those by chance? And it's not a big gamble because I've done this like, hundreds of thousands of times. So I know what those probably will be. But I'm gonna there could be a chance that I could be wrong. So maybe I'm getting like a 60-70% here. I say, yeah, Donald, it's the price is just a little bit more. And I know you said obviously a little bit cheaper than some of the other options that are out there. Is there anything else besides the price that's holding you back? No, it's a price. All right. So now I isolate that it is just a price. So what do you think would need to happen in order and then I'll go back into that for isolating. So the point is, we don't have time to go deeper and deeper, but the point is I give a menu. I just
Okay.
need to think about it. Give them a menu. What are the options? Sometimes people just don't want to let you down. So give them the options. Tell them straight up. Is it okay if I ask you a question before you go? Many times, and I do this hundreds of times. People tell me, when I usually get that question, or that there's I need to think about it. Usually, it's one, they need to just want to go deeper and to make sure they're making the right decision. Two,
Mm.
they don't see the value in it quite yet. Or three, it's just way too more expensive than what they thought. It's not the price, Donald. That's really good, and I do like what you have to offer. I just want to make sure I'm making the right decision. Okay, tell me a little bit more. It sounds like there's a little bit of hesitation. What is the biggest thing that's holding you back? Because again, if it's not a good fit, I don't want you to make that investment. That's the last thing I want you to do. However, if this is truly going to help your business to thrive and help you to see the ROI and kick things off and get you running, I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure you do it because I'm an evangelist and I'm going to evangelize what works for me. You tell me, what is it? What's the biggest hesitation? And then now,
And there you
what are you
go.
going to say at that point? So,
There
but
you
give them the
go.
menu option. Don't let them off the hook to say, yeah, I just need to think about it. That's too wishy-washy.
So, aside from your podcast, if somebody wants to learn more about sales from you, the sales evangelist, where are they going?
Yeah, you can do two things. Right now, we do have a free course on the site. We are giving another in the next month or so. There's a new offer going on there. It's really going to be focused around how you can leverage conversations on
Okay.
LinkedIn if you're selling to professionals, and some of the principles will apply to other platforms as well. But right now, you can go to the salesevangelist.com /free course to get access to the free course. To check that out, or just go to the salesevangelist.com and you can see some of our upcoming offer programs that we have. I would love to have you all check them out.
Cool. All right. Well, Donald, Kelly, thank you for being on this podcast and sharing so much about sales. I feel like it went into a deep dive on discovery call with a little bit. I wanted to hear about like DMing and all this, like cold outreach, but discovery calls, we as course creators can relate to that, especially us that have higher ticket offers, where
Yeah.
we do use a discovery call. So awesome. Thank you. Thank you for sharing and being here.
Hey, I appreciate you. And for you all that are out there, just don't give up. I remember the first time I sold something online, it was just like eye opening. And I remember when a stranger, like somebody I don't know, didn't know at all, was able to find me. So if little old me can do it, you are so much more educated and capable. You're going to do way more. And I need you all to do one thing as well: support this podcast. Make sure you go ahead and drop a link, because obviously you're hearing stuff like this. Every one of these episodes are providing great value. So share with another course creator. Tell them. It'll be greatly appreciated. I know that for sure as a host. So anyways, thanks so much for having me, and thanks for listening.
All right. Until the next episode, take care and be blessed. Bye.